Hey, here we go. Welcome back to another Wisco Fanatics Wednesday. Jake, myself, and Mike, we're just kind of talking through some of the stuff with the Badgers from their two games that we have to cover since last week. Some themes, definitely. Well, we're gonna break them down. So let's hit the intro and then let's talk Badgers basketball.
Welcome to another live episode of the Wisco Fanatics Show, where we discuss the Packers, Bucks, Brewers, Badgers football, and basketball from an optimistic perspective. Wisco Fanatics is brought to you by Cardboard Legacy, Wisconsin's most complete sports card shop. Buy, sell, grade, and consign all at their location in Oshkosh.
All right, so we're talking about Connor. Welcome back. Glad you could be here for the beginning of the show. We're talking back about some of the things going on with the Badgers basketball team. Now, we're talking about the more recent game against Illinois, but we have to start with the game against Marquette. So we're going to start with Saturday's game. Now, I just want to preface this. Mike and Jake do not have the same thing as I do, but I grew up as a fan of both. So I don't have like super strong feelings about this game because I was okay with whoever won coming out of it. But what I want to say before we get to that point is people freaking out and using phrases like shitting the bed and piss poor performance. Like, just fucking stop. Marquette was the number 5 team in the country. They are now the number 6 team in the country. Illinois is probably going to be ranked, and Michigan, after beating Wisconsin, is now ranked in the top 20. So people got to stop acting like these 3 losses are catastrophic and, oh, here we go, typical Greg Gard team coming back. They give us hope in the beginning just to be shit a month later. Knock it off. They lost to 3 really good teams that have a combined 2 losses. So, yeah. Or 3 losses. Sorry, they each had 1. So, Marquette, a good team. Mike, how did you feel about the guards?
It was definitely a little tough sledding playing Marquette. I thought initially going into this game, it was going to be down to their athleticism, their quickness versus like our size kind of, because we did have, on paper at least, the size advantage. I thought we could could have, taken advantage of, stuff along those lines. But, I thought, I'll just say it. The turnover battle is what really cost us, I feel like, at the end of the day. I mean, we can just go 16-5 overall, but I mean, specifically, the first half was okay. I mean, given all said and done, right? But you get to the second half, you lose the turnover battle 7-0, right? I think that basically summarizes it all right in there. At one point, the Badgers it was 7 turnovers and 14 possessions at one point in the second half. So it was some ugly basketball for sure, because then even during that time period was when Marquette was was basically getting stuff at will as well. And the momentum shifted right out the door in their favor. So definitely a tough day. I thought going into the game too, a big part of it was going to be Max Klesmit versus David Joplin from the 3-point line specifically, because both of them were very streaky shooters, especially coming into today. Joplin was 1 of 6 from 3, whereas Max Klesmit rebounded very nicely in this game against Marquette. He was 6 of 11 from 3. Welcome back, Max Klesmit. He was a guy that we definitely needed for sure, especially as how this game played out. I'm thankfully he showed up. He had 22 points, 2 assists, 1 rebound, and 6 of 11 from 3. So it was good to see him back. Hopefully he progresses as we get closer to or more into the meat and potatoes of Big Ten season here. So Kamari McGee, again, just a spark plug. Got 19 minutes in this game. 7 points, two steals. So he was he's always going to be an impact once he gets into the game, and to a positive extent for the most part. So then Jack Janicki didn't do too much. He had 8 minutes and 1 rebound. But I guess the one thing I really also wanted to call out too, the Badgers actually ended up getting outscored in the paint 44-28. That's something I did not foresee going into this one. The most consecutive stops Wisconsin strung together was 2 in the second half, and they only did it twice, right? The second occurrence came off of a result of a missed free throw and an intentional foul. So again, that just goes back to how, especially that second half, we were just struggling and, giving up, doing those mistakes. We did it last night too, and I'll talk about it. Giving up those and 1 3-point shots that happened back-to-back games now, twice, I believe it was against Marquette. So it's stuff that we do got to clean up on our end. Again, the turnover battle, it's stuff we got to clean up. But I mean, yeah, that was basically the story of it, especially in the second half. It was a completely different team.
Yeah. Jake, how did you feel about the bigs?
Yeah, so one of the main points I was going to talk about, Mike brought it up, was points in the paint. We lost that 28-44, and I talked about Steven Crowell. I feel like I'm going to be talking about Steven Crowell in my sleep for the next couple months here. 2 points, 1 of 4 from the field, 11 rebounds and 3 assists. So we've given him credit for something that he does well. That's pass the ball. He's a good passer. I got to give him credit for having 11 rebounds, but not being there on the back end to help with that paint defense. Now, I do think that some of it was the turnovers. You talked about the turnovers as well, Mike. We give up 18 points on those 16 turnovers. So that's a lot of points off the turnovers. You talk about not being there and helping out in the paint. I mean, you look at guys like when we talk about Buck, we talk about Brook Lopez, right? If Brook Lopez has a tough game shooting the ball and not scoring, I can guarantee you Brook Lopez is going to play some goddamn defense.
Yep.
Guarantee you he's going to meet you at the rim. For better or worse, he's going to meet your ass at the rim.
Yeah.
And that's one thing we can rely on.
Yep.
Steven Crowell is a senior. This is a young man's game, right? They always say that in basketball. They say that in football. They say that in all sports, really. Steven Crowell is a senior, bro. He is, and in this day and age, he might be considered a super senior at this point because most guys are only staying 1 year in college, maybe 2 years. Where is his impact? Why does he hit like a napkin? I feel like he has the smallest impact of all time from a 7-footer I've ever seen in my entire life. He plays super soft.
Quite that far, but of a 7-footer that plays significant minutes, I would say. I would add that caveat.
Yeah, it's tough because you have a guy like Gilmore come in. He gives you 5 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, and you feel like he plays exponentially tougher than Steven Crowell.
Yep.
And there's a reason that he's the first guy off the bench. He's the guy that's standing next to the guard at all times. He's guard is always in his ear because he feels like he could trust Carter Gilmore.
Yep.
I really feel like the trust factor with Crowell, and it's going to get worse. So you better stick around. When we get to this next game, it's going to get real bad.
Spoiler alert.
20 minutes. Carter Gilmore also had a steal. I love Carter Gilmore. I'll be the first one on that, driving that truck for the fan base for Carter Gilmore. Amos. I thought he was going to have a bigger impact, man. I feel like I was duped a little bit. I feel like I went too far in with the 3-point shooting and stretching the floor. I thought I liked his ability on defense. I thought that he was going to be a guy that could switch, with the small guys every once in a while. I thought he would maybe get some wing minutes, be a big wing at times if we wanted to play a big boy lineup. 6 minutes, 1 rebound. Very small impact for him as well, but it's just got to be better top to bottom, in my opinion.
Let's talk more about Amos when we get to the Illinois game because I have thoughts.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's put a pin in that. Looking at the wings, Blackwell and Tanjay, they combined for 9 of those 16 turnovers. And a very similar issue to the Michigan game. There's an opportunity cost. So obviously turnovers make it easier for your opponent to get into transition. But the opportunity cost is that your offense then doesn't get chances to score, which is obvious. But it's something that it needs to be considered a little bit more, in my opinion, just when you look at the amount of opportunities that you get to score when you turn the ball over that much. That's why Wisconsin has always put such a high premium on taking care of the ball. Mm-hmm. I understand that playing a little bit of a faster pace is going to potentially increase those turnovers. I understand that. So I'm willing to be a little bit patient on it because the Badgers are playing such a higher pace than they did years previous. So I will pump the brakes on it a little bit. John Blackwell did a really good job. Still driving the ball to the hoop is a big part of John Blackwell's games. Well, welcome back, Tim. What's up? Still a really big part of his game. Created a shot for Nolan Winter early in the game. Created a driving kick to Carter Gilmore for 3. I love that he's shooting with confidence. and shooting with rhythm. So I'm down for Carter Gilmore to shoot a little bit more. Not a lot. Like, I'm not ready to say like he needs to shoot 4 or 5 threes a game, but in rhythm, I'm good. Yeah, 2. Yeah. If he makes 1, great. If he's shooting 50%, I'm in. Love it. Early in the second half, 2 scores in the paint really early. Then had 2 turnovers. One just basically dribbling off his foot, and then another one just a bad pass. During some big momentum runs for Marquette, that kind of spiraled. And I said this to somebody on Facebook. I'm like, 2 of these last 2 games were road games. And the guy responded and said Marquette is hardly a road game. And I'm like, just because there's not a lot of travel doesn't mean it's not a road game. The crowd, absolutely a factor.
Also, now that you bring that up, I want to talk about this. How much of a different atmosphere is it at the Forum for Marquette games? And part of that is because it's an NBA arena, and I don't care about that.
That's fair.
That's part of the lure of going to Marquette over Wisconsin, right? Is you get to play in the same place that Giannis and Khris and Dame get to play, right?
Fair.
You get to play where a potential championship roster is. That's a big get for Marquette. Also, having Shaka Smart, love Shaka Smart. Hate that he's Marquette's coach as a Badgers fan personally, but I love Shaka Smart. He is an awesome personality. He's a really good coach.
Yep.
They had that place fucking bumping, dude. That place was bumping on Saturday. I'm sorry, but we've talked about this with football. All the 70, 80, 60, 55-year-old men and women at the Badgers games, they got to move to the back. I'm sorry. We got to get these young kids up front.
Yeah.
We got to get this thing loud. We got to get this thing crazy.
I mean, with that fan base too, Wisconsin got the last 3 on Marquette, right? So I think they were just basically just dying to just like beat us. Especially because Shaka hasn't beat Greg Gard yet hasn't gotten a win versus Wisconsin going into today. So I think they were really, really just hungry for this one for sure. But no, you're right, Jake. I'll be the first to admit it. That atmosphere was
electric,
to say the least.
Electric.
It was
so
electric.
There wasn't a lot of travel.
Equivalent to an NCAA tournament game, like an Elite 8 or a Sweet 16, Final 4, whatever you want to call it. It was equivalent to something like that.
Yeah.
So while it wasn't a lot of travel, but still a true road game.
Mm-hmm.
I will say John Blackwell's forcing the issue to the paint was really kind of the only thing that was keeping Wisconsin close in the second half. He hit a 3. He cut the lead to 10 3 separate times by himself. Just didn't get enough shots. Those turnovers are big. John Tonje, he didn't have many looks in the first 6.5 minutes of the game, but stayed patient, didn't force anything. I want to give him credit for that because as a basketball player, when you are not getting looks, it's really hard to stay mentally sharp and not jack up a bad shot.
Yeah.
That is absolutely a basketball IQ thing to just be like, I'm not getting a shot, but I'm not going to force a shot just for the sake of shooting.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to give him credit for that. First thing he does when he gets the ball for a good look is he hits a 3. And then him also, another guy forcing the issue to get to the paint. He had 12 points in the first half, but 2.5 minutes into the second half, picked up his 3rd foul, had to sit for almost 6 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So this was his lowest output since the Badgers' second game of the season. Now, on the game as a whole, Max Klesman had a get-right game. Carter Gilmore had probably one of the better games of his career. The first half was very competitive with Max Klesman starting out hot. I will say the credit goes to Marquette for how intensely they pressure the ball and how intensely their arms are in passing lanes. For something to be taking advantage of that, what I want to see, and I've brought this up before, is quicker ball movement. The ball has to move quicker against a team like Marquette. That's how you have to attack it. You can't sit back and try to find the one open spot. That's how they will earn themselves rest, by playing hard defensively, and then the guys in the back can kind of just chill out. You have to move the ball quick. You have to make them run back and forth if you want to tire out a defense like that. So the ball has to move quicker. Another difference between Marquette and Wisconsin, active hands on defense. Everywhere the Badgers are trying to pass the ball, there's hands all over the place. The Badgers, a lot of hands at the sides. Now, I understand you're trying to play strong on-ball defense, not get fouls, stuff like that. But those active hands, that creates deflections. That creates havoc. It creates turnovers. So that's another difference. But the other thing with and I know, Jake, you said this during the game at one point, when Marquette goes into the zone, the Badgers have to have their spacing better.
Oh,
and I don't know if this just comes down to getting more experience against it, or if Greg Gard needs to coach it in practice more often. But playing high school basketball, you should know how to attack most common zones. A 3-2 and a 2-3, they're not hard to attack. It's just something that, in my opinion, college basketball players should know how to do.
Yeah.
So that again, going back to my previous point, the ball needs to move quicker. When you're playing against the zone, you can do some driving kick, but just in general, the ball needs to move quicker. There's way too much of the Badgers on offense just catching the ball, looking, trying to find which wing you're going to pass the ball to next. It has to be quicker. It has to be quicker. Bottom line. I will say Greg Gard did a very good job drawing up plays out of timeouts. That is one thing he's very good at. The Badgers scored multiple times out of some timeouts, so he did well with that. Last thing I'll say on the Marquette side of things, Cam Jones is an absolute stud. As a Marquette fan, I love him. He can score from anywhere. He can score off the dribble, off the shoot, or off the catch and shoot. 13 points in the first half, 19 points in the second half. Finished with 32 points, 6 assists, and 4 steals. Cam Jones is a stud.
Yeah, he was boots to asses on Saturday.
Yeah. Did you hear what Gard was saying to him after the game? He told him he's got an old man's game, or an old school game, actually, with like just picking and choosing your spots and all that, picking and choosing your spots, taking what the defense gives you, like letting the game come to him, sort of thing. But yeah, that I just want to throw that out there. Gard was talking to him about that afterwards. So
yeah. Anything else you guys want to say? Wisconsin Marquette.
I am happy Cam Jones is gone after this year.
No, seriously. I had one more thing.
I'd love to have you. I'd love to have him on the Bucks.
He would be a bad option for a backup one guard. I will say that. Sitting behind Dame Lillard.
Yep.
One thing I do wanted to add on, and I knew somebody was going to bring up ball pressure. Marquette did a really nice job because Wisconsin was trying to constantly go downhill, and we were trying to attack the rim. And Marquette did a really nice job staying home and not letting that collapse their whole defense. So I told you yesterday we had a throwback episode for Packers. If you didn't get a chance to go see that, go check that out. I said this was going to be a hurtful week for me. I had to give credit to Marquette and the Detroit Lions in the same week. Now I have to give credit to Illinois because they did some good things last night. So, oh boy, it's I'm eating some humble pie this week.
Let's just go to Illinois. And Jake, I'm going to start with you to get the obvious elephant in the room out in the open. Let's just acknowledge it, and let's start with the bigs.
Okay. So I'm going to start just with a question. And if somebody in here somewhere just finds somebody that knows Stephen Crowell, I want this question to get to you. I want you to double check if this thing is on. I'm pointing to your heart. Now, there's been a lot of players in my life throughout sports that maybe weren't the most talented player. And I'm not saying that you don't have talent, because I actually do believe you have some game.
Yeah.
But there's been a lot of players that didn't have talent, and they play with this thing. And that made them rise their game. If I see one more goddamn basketball bounce in front of you and you're not the first mother effer to the floor, I swear to God, I'm going to rip you in my living room through my TV. What are we doing, bro? You played 19 minutes. You had 0 rebounds. You were 7 feet tall. You know, I was just saying this before the show. In high school, I got in 2 varsity basketball games. I'm going to embarrass myself right now. I don't care. The first game I ever got into, I got a 15-foot shot blocked 19 rows into the stands. There's only 20 rows in my high school.
That was in Plymouth.
Oh, you're right. Oh, I thought it was at home.
On the road, too. That a boy, Jake. Road warrior.
Then I got into a game at home. This was the home game. I got tripped into a rebound. I fell over another human being into a rebound. That's how I got a rebound that game. and you couldn't get one at 7 feet tall in 19 minutes of game time. Now, I don't want to hear nothing about physicality because you showed very little last night, in my opinion. With looking at the rebounding disparity, now Illinois is coming off a loss to Northwestern.
Yep.
And their coach, Brad Underwood, I believe is his name, right?
Yep.
Did I say his name right? He challenged them in the rebounding department, and they won 40-29. And they grabbed 15 offensive rebounds. We have 2 7-footers on the floor at times. Absolutely inexcusable to give up 15 offensive rebounds in a college basketball game. Now, to our credit, we did get 11 ourselves. But again, we play the game with 2 7-footers, and one of the 7-footers didn't get a single one of those rebounds.
One of the 7-footers looked a lot hungrier than the other 7-footer, in my opinion, on both ends of the floor.
I'm going to talk about Winter in a second. Right now, I'm still talking to Steven Crowell. Crowell, man, you're a senior. And, you know, they say this is a young man's game and you're not old. But in college basketball terms, you're pretty old at this point. You're a lot of kids are staying 1, maybe 2 years. Very rare for people to stay 3 years and make the league. You're in your 4th year. It's time to you know, and it seems like you haven't improved at all in your game. Like, you came in skilled. You came in with a 3-point shot. You came in with good footwork. You came in with size. And it doesn't seem like you use any of that stuff to your advantage. Now, we talk about Nolan Winter. This is a kid that came in with talent and is adding to the bag.
Yeah.
This is a kid that's putting the work in. You could tell he's physically stronger.
Yep.
You could tell he wants it a little bit more. He led the way with scoring, 15 points. He had 7 rebounds and assists, 5 of 11 from the floor, and 2 of 7 from 3. I mean, he was hooking them up there, but that's what I want to see. Yep. A young guy like that with talent, I want him to get more touches, especially if our other 7-footer, who's supposed to be showing him the ropes. What's going on, bro?
And won't face the basket.
Yeah, and he won't face.
Well, we talked about that. Yeah, that's another black hole we could go down. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
You know, and then I'm gonna briefly talk about Amos. I mean, he did hit a 3 yesterday. Took 2 shots, both of them from 3. Made 1. Played 11 total minutes. You know, the thing I can at least say about Amos is at least he tries to mix it up down low a little bit. He's still a little undersized, but he's throwing everything around that he has. He's throwing his weight around. He doesn't have much weight on him because he's a pretty skinny kid, but you know, he's throwing it around. He's trying to battle down there. Yeah. Then we get to Carter Gilmore. I will never say anything bad about Carter Gilmore. I'll never do it. I love Carter Gilmore's mentality. He is a straight up dog. Like, I feel like I feel like he whoops Crowell's ass in practice and we just don't see it. Like, he probably gets on Crowell's ass in practice.
Probably works him, yeah.
Yeah, like he just looks like he comes to practice like I'm gonna piss him off today, you know. Mike looks like he wants to chime in, so go ahead, Mike.
My biggest point, kind of like what I was literally gonna say straight up. I will eat crow because I've definitely talked some things about Gilmore in terms of selection or like what he's doing out there. But these last 2 games, he's put together 2 really good games against Marquette and Illinois. Are we at the point where we just say, you know what, fuck it, Carter Gilmore, you're starting like this next game until Steve can you know get his act together, man? I'm telling you, because clearly if we have a 6'11" guy and a 7-footer out there right now, we're still getting our ass beat down low. Marquette, we got outscored in the paint. We got out rebounded this game against Illinois. Does it really even matter anymore? No matter what we do, I feel like at this point, if you're Coach Gard, you should be asking that question. Should we potentially go that route? That's what I was going to bring up.
He's already playing 20 minutes a game, so why not?
Exactly.
It goes to Williams' point. Williams said on YouTube, Nolan Winter is a better center than Steven Crowell. There are definitely things that I think are better in his game. The one thing that I will give the advantage to Steven Crowell is his low post footwork. Yeah, Steven Crowell is a very good low post. He dribbles 34 times to get there, but his footwork in the post is very good.
Yeah.
So I'll give him that. But in every other category, I love Nolan Winter. I'm a big Nolan Winter guy. So I'm not going to be like, oh, whoa. Like, I'm a big Nolan Winter guy. He played 29 minutes last night.
He had to. Yeah. I mean, we had a black hole that didn't do anything. So yeah.
So I wanted you guys to get your airing of grievances out there on Stephen Crowell.
Yep.
Before I drop some contextual things, and then I want to just kind of, I guess, move on from it. Hawkaholics, yes, definitely going to be a different show talking about 2025 schedule. Looking at Stephen Crowell, I'm going to try to give credit to a couple things before going in on Crowell. The Badgers as a team did rally to rebounds. They got out-rebounded, but I have to give credit to the guards because they're working hard. Tanjay's working hard on the boards. Klesmit's working hard on the boards. Kamari McGee flew in to grab a couple rebounds. So I want to give those guys credit. I said this already to you guys just now, but Nolan Winter, in my opinion, looked hungrier on the boards. He looked like a guy who was attacking the basketball and not waiting for the ball to come to him.
Yep.
I think that's a difference between Winter and Crowell.
Yep.
I will give a little bit of slack to Crowell because his defensive assignment played pretty far away from the basket for a big chunk of the game. That Ivisic, he was far away from the basket. That does make it harder to be in the paint to grab rebounds. Not saying that it's an excuse. It's context. The other part of it is he was in foul trouble. Mm-hmm. So that's part of it. Now, going forward, we were talking about this before the show. There is not any aspect of last night's game where I felt that Stephen Crowell was being aggressive. I ranted, shouted, and yelled last season about Stephen Crowell catching the ball in the perimeter and not facing the basket. About catching the ball and just kind of holding it in his lap. Mm-hmm. Like, do something. Be aggressive in some way, shape, or form. I don't even give a shit if it's just making fake passes. Like, do something instead of waiting for somebody to come take the ball from you. Because at that point, I'd rather just have you standing on the block instead of being at the top just to rotate the ball. Guards can do that with the dribble. They don't need you there for that. And if we're talking about energy and effort, a guy that I would like to see on the floor more is Xavier Amos. Because I do think he gives you that opportunity to have some defensive presence, even though he is 6'8" instead of 7 feet. I would rather have Nolan Winter playing center and Xavier Amos, or to your point, potentially Carter Gilmore in the game. Until Stephen Crowell shows me that he's actually hungry for anything. Whether it's hungry to score, hungry to try to find his teammates, we know he can pass.
Yeah.
Move around, try to create some passing lanes. I'm not saying that he needs to start, dribbling like Jokic and trying to, do crazy passes and shit, but we know you're a good passer. Put yourself in positions to make more passes than just dribble handoffs and shit. Or defensively and in the rebounding. I want to see him be aggressive in any facet. Is how I feel about Stephen Crowell.
Yeah.
Okay. Going to the wings, John Tanjay, he ran some really nice two-man game with Nolan Winter. Nolan Winter setting him a ball screen. Tanjay coming off of it, keeping his defender on his hip, and just driving to the basket until the center had to commit either to Winter or himself and dropped a nice lob pass for Nolan Winter. I like seeing that. I'd like to see more Tanjay and Winter two-man game. Yeah. I think Winter's ability to pick and pop, and this happened in some points of the game last night too, where he did hit a couple threes. After he hit one, he mixed in a pump fake. He drove and went from the left block to a right-handed layup at 6'11", and I was like, ooh, that was saucy.
Oh yeah,
like Nolan Winter can ball.
Oh yeah,
and he acts like he wants to score.
Mm-hmm.
So I liked seeing that. 14 points on 5 for 15 shooting, only 2 free throws. You just got to get to the line more than twice and cut down the turnovers is how I feel about John Tanjay. They ran a play for him late in the game. He buried a 3, had 4 turnovers. I do think one of them should have gone to Crowell for throwing him like a rocket pass from 2 feet away. That went on Tanjay. So I'll pump the brakes. 3 isn't terrible if that's how that would have been for Tanjay. John Blackwell did get his turnovers down, only 2 for him, but he ended up falling out of the game. So he had 10 points on an efficient 4 of 6 shooting, only made 2 of his 4 free throws, got to make those. But Tajay stayed aggressive, or Blackwell stayed aggressive in the paint, which I really like to see. That's my main thing. I really didn't have a lot of notes from those two last night. So, Mike, how did you feel about the guards?
I would say, well, first and foremost, I didn't realize this, but this is the 9th straight win for Illinois over Wisconsin.
I didn't want to say it.
Well, they were like a top 10 team for a good while.
We still got to clean that up for sure. No, that's the one thing I wanted to call out right away. As far as the guards are concerned, I'm still going to bring this up. I know we've somewhat talked about it, but giving up 15 offensive rebounds is a team-oriented thing. It's not just the bigs. It's not just the wings. I'm going to once again talk about it because it turned into 16 second chance points is what it turned into. And it ultimately, I mean, they went, what was it, 86 to 80? I mean, there you go. That's a main storyline in this game as far as I'm concerned.
I mean, that's what I used to track with the fundamental failures that I used to track was points off turnovers, second chance points, and missed free throws.
Yeah. I mean, and even the span you guys talked about foul trouble with your guys. I mean, Max Klesmit, for one, he got in foul trouble as well. There was a point where Klesmit, John Blackwell, and Stephen Crowell all had 2 fouls, and there was a couple stretches when they were again all in foul trouble, and we just couldn't really get anything going. So that was also something that stood out to me, even though I was a little somewhat disappointed by this. We were double bonus in the second half with like 8 to 9 minutes to go in comparison to Illinois' maybe 2 or 3 team fouls. So that was something I was hoping we could have maybe take advantage of. We did shoot below our season average for the first time, I believe, this year, 14 to 21 from the line. Max was 3 of 6 from the line. I don't have the rest of the guys in front of me what they shot, but yeah, this is the first game when we did a subpar okay at the free throw line, but I don't think that necessarily costed us. No, Klesmit did okay. I mean, 4 of 10 from the field, 2 of 5 from the 3-point line, 3 of 6 from the free throw line, 4 assists, 1 rebound, 3 turnovers, unfortunately. So it was kind of collective between the guards in terms of turnover discrepancy. So it's again a thing that we got to clean up. Illinois came out with a lot of energy, clearly, especially with the whole offensive rebound stat. You can tell Coach Underwood got into this team's asshole, I would say, prior to this game.
He pissed in his interview after the Northwestern game.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's their rival, right? Northwestern's their rival. It's like who's the king of Illinois or whatever, king of Fib country, whatever. So no, you could tell those guys were out here to prove a point for sure. Yeah, you like that?
Illinois is about to catch an L next game. They play number 1 Tennessee next. So
Tennessee, Rocky Top. Yeah, that's a side note. But the fact that Dalton Knick's not even on that team anymore and they're number 1 is freaking crazy. And he's doing work with the Lakers now. So sorry, I didn't want to get too off topic.
They got ballers.
Yeah. Kamari McGee, I mean, he does what he does. 21 minutes, 4 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal. Yeah, in the second half, he definitely made more of a presence, especially again with JB, Klesmit, Steve, all in foul trouble. He had to step a bit and keep the boat afloat, so to speak. So good for him. Big call out actually is Jack Janicki this game. He was a spark plug in this game. Greg Gard said afterward that he needs to find more minutes for him. He got 17 this game. Hit a big time 3-pointer in a moment where I believe Wisconsin was down 8 or 10 points and we were kind of starting to lose it a little bit. He just plays fearless too. He has no problem pulling the trigger, has no problem doing certain, like anything that you ask. 3 points, 2 assists, 3 rebounds, 1 block. So definitely taking advantage of the time that he gets and just making plays. So I mean, I don't mean to like step on the toes either, but I mean, Greg Gard again after the game goes, how does he said something along the lines of how does Stephen Crowell play for this much and doesn't get 1 rebound? Like he questioned himself while he was like reading that off. So I seriously think you do have to, I'm going to go back to it. You have to consider potentially putting Carter Gilmore out there to start. This is the second consecutive good, I would say good game. And again, I eat crow. I will eat crow on this because as you guys know, whether it's in group chats or even on here, Yeah, I don't say the nicest things specifically about Gilmore, but no, he's starting to shut me up a little bit these last 2 games, and it's more so with his decision making as well. On top of playing really, really hard, you can tell he's got a heart in comparison to what we've been experiencing with. So, um, first, I mean, we just got to clean up the rebounds too, take care of the ball. I'm hoping this is a get right game against Butler. They just lost to North Dakota State last night. So sad Saturday on the road at Indy. We better come out with guns blazing.
The thing with Crowell, again, just to beat the dead horse a little more, I understand. I brought up the contextual things with his man being farther away from the paint on defense, having the foul trouble. Go get an offensive rebound.
Yeah.
There's no reason he couldn't have gotten a rebound on that side of the floor.
See, that's why I brought up that we got 11 of them as a team, and he got 0.
And that's one of the things that they did well against Michigan last week. Yeah. Like, they lost the game, but they had 15 offensive rebounds in that game.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, they're perfectly capable of going and getting them. I will say I don't say bad things about Kamara McGee often, but 2 missed free throws can't have empty possessions at the free throw line.
Yeah, that was pretty tough to pill swallow when you missed both those.
And then this is something that they talked about during the broadcast a lot, was Illinois' driving to the basket. They did a really good job of creating separation by, on their second step, getting a bump and then just finishing. It sucks to give credit to Illinois, but they did well to create that space for themselves. So credit to the Illinois guards for being able to do that. William asked, how concerned are you about the Badgers? At the top of the show, I mentioned it. They lost to 3 good teams that had 3 combined losses. My concern is like a 4.
If I had to put a number on it, I'd probably say like a 5.5 or 6, because they have some things that are starting to kind of pile up on them that I don't like, but they can still right the ship. I'm not writing them off or saying that they're going to be trash. They could easily go on another 5-6 game run, and I wouldn't be shocked either.
Yeah. This is probably one of the toughest parts of their schedule.
I would say I'm at about a 5.5, maybe 6. I mean, we're going to learn. I think we're going to learn more these next couple games against Butler and Detroit Mercy. And then we get Iowa, I want to say, coming back after like Christmas break. So we're going to get, so we got a couple games to get right. I hope, I want to eat some more crow. I want Carter Gilmore to keep playing well. I want Stephen Crowell to shut our asses up too.
Absolutely.
And put something together. And this is a good opportunity for that.
Yep.
This is a Butler team that we're playing that's doesn't have Gordon Hayward or Matty Howard on their team or anything like that. This is going to be an opportunity to go on get a big road win and then come back home and play Detroit and just get ready for Iowa, because Iowa is definitely no fluke.
Yeah.
And I'm not just saying that because the Hawkeye group's on here.
Because the Hawkaholics were commenting.
Or the Hawkaholics are on here.
So the only game that we'll have between now and next Wednesday is the Butler game. The following week we'll have those other 2. But looking at it, we have 1 game next week. Just get a win, get back in the win column. Connor, take care. Just get back on the win column. Just get back to being able to exhale a little bit, but go play aggressive. You have a lot of time off after this one.
Yeah, agreed.
All righty. Mike, anything else you want to say before you go and we switch to the Bucks?
No, that should do it. Shout out to one of my followers from back home, actually, Brandon Blotz. He's getting married on Friday, and I am actually officiating it, believe it or not.
Oh, so, Minister Mike. All right.
Yeah, Pastor Yodes. I've been saying Pastor Yodes, but I'm also giving a toast toast speech later on.
Delivering a eulogy, huh?
Yep. So I'm basically finishing up the script right after this, and I'm going to be practicing for about 2 hours until I have my basketball game tonight at 8:00. So
I swear to God, if you do not record your speech and I don't get to see it, I'm going to be so pissed.
You're going to have to ask somebody to do it. I don't know how picky they're going to be with like the photographer, because she's going to get it. I don't know. You might have to ask my mother or ask maybe one of my hometown buddies, because there's going to be a decent amount of them there. Somebody will get it, I'm sure.
700 weddings every year if you didn't know everybody.
Yeah. No, but this is the first time I'm legit giving speeches, if you want to call it speeches, for the actual first time officiating and first time giving a speech. So Yeah, we got some one-liners in there. I'm just hoping people laugh and
Oh, dude,
you know.
dude, I'm calling you Pastor Mike forever now.
No, I switched. I changed his name. It's Minister Mike now.
Is that going to be like my tagline thing underneath here now?
Yeah, it's
Yes.
on there now.
Yeah, it's on
I
there.
gotta figure out how do I. Oh man.
Hey,
gotta
I must be
figure
in
out how to
good
put it on
company.
there
I
for
mean,
their
Minister of
display.
Defense Reggie White. I mean, yeah, Minister Mike. I mean, both ministers of yeah. I guess I'll allow that.
I'm with it.
All right.
I'm with it.
Well, looks like Brett's ready for us to switch to the Bucks. He's excited for the Bucks to take the cup. Mike, we will see you again next Wednesday. Just one Badger basketball game to talk about. So until then, we will see you then. I also play at 8, so let's get it.
Perfect. Good luck then. All right, later, fellas.
Take care.
Yep.
All right. So, like I said, Brett's ready to switch to Bucks just in time for the Bucks discussion. So, starting with the Bucks and the Hawks, I
He
have
really likes your Bucks hat though. That's crazy, bro.
my Bucks hat is like really cool. Like yours is the champion one, which is awesome. But like,
But he
tis the
only.
season, my guy.
Yeah, I know. I was just talking shit.
Hit me up like 6 months from now when it's the middle of June, and then it'll be snapback season.
Yeah, and then we can buy another one of these. I can spend another $40 on one of these. That'd be cool.
Valid. Okay. Going into Bucks Hawks, I just want to say thank you, NBA, for giving us the shaft.
Bro,
Dog, this was their 21st game of the season and their 5th back-to-back. Get fucked whoever makes the NBA schedule.
dude, if you really want to piss yourself off, go through the rest of the Bucks schedule. None of it makes sense.
They were off from last Tuesday through Saturday. Back-to-back. 5th back-to-back of the season already? Are you shitting me? And now they played last night for the NBA Cup. They advanced, so they're traveling to Vegas. So I understand that part of it. And now they don't play until Saturday again.
Yep.
What the hell? Like, can we just play every other day, please?
Yeah.
Like it is in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Sometimes they do 2 days when they're traveling between cities. So like every 2 to 3 days they should play. There shouldn't be this back-to-backs. It's fucking dumb.
I agree.
Just get rid of them.
Yeah.
And this isn't to pander to the players like that don't want to play both of them, but the impact on the games is real.
It is.
Looking at the three-point shooting, just as an example, 15 of 45. The Bucks made 33% of their threes. Their legs were tired. You could tell. 7 of 24 in the second half. The numbers directly correlate to where the fatigue goes.
Yep.
The second half of the back-to-back, 29% on threes. Gee, wonder why. AJ Green, 2 for 11 for 3 from 3. Just forget. Dame did have a good game from 3. He was 5 for 9. That's 55%. Ajax and Bobby Portis both were 0 for 2. It is what it is. 18 turnovers to me was another mark of fatigue, just because most of the time the Bucks are in that 10 to 15 range. Just I think some of the mental energy goes as well as the physical energy, and that's what I think led to a lot of those turnovers. And overall, Atlanta turned it into 19 points off turnovers. Giannis's free throws, just another way to drive home the fatigue. He missed 11 free throws. It's just dumb. Like, it obviously has an effect on the product. So even at that point, like, NBA's got to get rid of it.
Yep.
Like I said, just make it so they play every other day like they will in the playoffs.
Yep.
There are not going to be any back-to-backs in the playoffs, so why have them in the regular season?
I agree.
Brett said he hates it. Even Doc said in the press after the Pistons game, the NBA needed to consider not to go back-to-back off of a cup game. That's a really good point as well. Yep, and the Hawks, they were off. I think they played Sunday. And then
they had one day off. So they were off the day we played the Pistons. They played the day before, and then they had the day off to travel into Milwaukee. So
yeah, it really makes me not be like, oh my God, the streak is over. Like, it is what it is. Dame continued his 3-point shooting. DeLon Wright was 2 for 2. Looking at Dame since November 26th, he's 23 out of 42 on threes. That's 54.7% in his last 4 games coming into this one.
Damn.
So If there was one guy not affected by fatigue, it's the dude that worked out with David Goggins all offseason.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Give me your thoughts on Bucks Hawks.
Oh, God, so many thoughts that I want to say, but I'll save some of them. So talking about efficiency scoring, right? And we're talking about fatigue. So you could tell it with two things. First of all, the catch and shoot in the Pistons game, we scored 56 points. I talked about that last week. 56 points on catch and shoot. Going into the Hawks game, 35. That's a 21-point drop. And then you talk about driving. In the Pistons game, they didn't have to score off the drive as much because they were driving and kicking. Guys had fresh legs. They were open. And I understand the better defense that the Hawks play. The Hawks have a lot of long, athletic players, and that may have an effect to it too. But the Bucks scored 26 points off the drive compared to the 18 that they had against the Pistons the night before. Dame and Giannis had 20 of the 26. So, I mean,
that makes sense.
They were trying and they were driving, and I thought, and honestly, I wrote this down. I thought the Bucks played with good energy in the first half. I really thought that they were giving good effort, good energy. They were trying to do the right things in the first half. And then in the second half, and it makes total sense in the second half of a back-to-back, I felt like their legs were shot, man. I really do. That's what I saw.
You run out of energy.
You look at the bench, and the bench is a direct correlation of that as well. The bench against the Pistons, 46 points, 17 rebounds, 8 assists. They shot 17 of 35 and 11 of 18 from 3. Against the Hawks, 31, 14, and 4. They've shot 10 of 33 and 7 of 25 from 3. The Bucks bench got outscored 50 to 31 versus the Hawks. The Hawks had 3 players in double digits on their bench.
Yikes.
So you could tell the youth for one and the back-to-back for two. I mean, it was one of those games. I mean, we got beat up on the boards as well. The Hawks had 54 rebounds, 15 offensive rebounds. Bucks had 40 rebounds total and had 8 offensive rebounds. I mean, they had 23 assists, like you said, the 18 turnovers. So they were trying to pass the ball. I really thought they were trying to do the right things. I really do. When I watched this game, it was like, it's not for lack of effort. It's not for lack of, basketball IQ.
Yeah.
It's just lack of no legs. And a lot of basketball is legs. And people don't really realize that. And that's where we lost this game was legs.
Yeah, Brett, it wasn't a disappointing loss. It just kind of is what it is. Just kind of a crumple it up, throw it over your shoulder type loss.
Yeah,
I'm going to hold on to your question until we get to last night's game, but let's go to Friday night, the return of Khris Middleton. What did you take away from Bucks Celtics on Friday night?
Yeah, so you talk about the return of Khris Middleton, right? So since the trade for Damian Lillard, this is only the 43rd game with Dame, Khris, and Giannis on the floor at the same time. Only the 9th game with all 3 of them together under Doc Rivers.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you look at it from that perspective, and they got a lot of stuff to figure out. Yep. And this is where I was having the discussion, and it's a tough discussion of, do you keep Khris Middleton on the bench? And a lot of people are kind of against it, and I can hear the argument for that. I would be okay if he's in the starting lineup. But for me, in my mind, when I think about him going to the bench, I think about it in this way. The Dame and Giannis pick and roll is working together really well, right? Yep. If you have Khris stay on the bench, you can now alternate Khris to come in when Dame wants to go when Dame wants to go out. So then you still have, Giannis and Khris. And then when Giannis comes out, you can bring Dame back in. Then you have Dame and Khris playing together. And there's no saying that you can't play them together at the end of the game. I'm not saying that I would 100% do it. You can still close them together, have them close together if you alternate their minutes correctly. But just being able to have 2 of them on the floor at the same time, you could also protect Khris a little bit, as he's still working his legs back into shape. I just think it's maybe a discussion to be had because and some of it has to do with Bobby. And I really want people to hear me out on this. Bobby's been fantastic.
Okay, let's put a pin in Bobby. Let me answer just on the Khris thing.
Okay, go ahead.
So just on Khris, on coming off the bench, the only way I want to keep him on the bench is if he's on a minute restriction.
That's fair.
When his minute restriction is gone and his conditioning is back, I want him in the starting lineup because your opponent isn't putting their 3rd best player on the bench just to have him staggered minutes with their 1st and 2nd best players. Well, so I want all of our best players on the floor at the beginning of the game.
I mean, the other reason I had that is, and Khris has been playing tremendous defense. the other reason I had that is because he's the guy that holds everybody accountable, and he's the guy that can hold Bobby Portis accountable for a lot of it. If you can't tell, Khris has been upping his game the last 2 games, and Bobby has also been raising the bar the last couple of games because Khris is he directs traffic. I don't think people realize that.
He's a playmaker.
I mean, even on defense too. I mean, he was calling all plays. I mean, I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but there was a game. I'll talk about it when we get there. He was calling out the out of bounds play.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, "This guy's gonna go here. This guy's gonna go here, and he's gonna come over here." And I was just like, "Holy fuck!" He called the entire play.
His basketball IQ is not given any credit.
No, it's not.
Much less given enough credit. It's not given any credit.
William, I say no. I say no.
I'm still on the fence. I'm like blowing back and forth in the wind, but I'm still on the fence, William.
Okay, so we'll wrap up. We'll talk about the Celtics game, then we'll get to the next game. So in this Bucks game, both Giannis and Dame, they scored over 30 again, 30 and 31. They both had an effective field goal percentage over 50. Dame had a 56% effective field goal percentage, and Giannis had a 52%. They scored 25 of the 27 drive points. The Bucks scored 17 on catch and shoots. Damian Lillard scored 20 of the 36 on pull-ups, but he only shot 42% on those. Giannis shot 25% on pull-ups, and Khris shot 33%. I'm not really going to be too concerned with Khris Middleton's shooting percentage for a while. I just wanted to point that out because he's one of the best 3 players on this team.
Yep.
And this game, people were like, "Oh, another loss to the Celtics." This game had 11 ties and 14 lead changes.
Yeah. I'm really annoyed that all of our games against the Celtics are this early in the season.
When I saw the schedule, I was like, "What the hell are we doing here?"
We should have one in November, one in January, and one in April.
I 100% agree with that. I mean, it is what it is. But just know that by the end of the season, with Khris Middleton and Dame and Giannis, and they all are cohesive together, games that are like this with lead changes and ties, they're going to be flipped to Milwaukee's favor, in my opinion.
Yep, and I'm looking forward to getting back to like the 2022-2023 playoffs where their series against the Heat was all played in the half court. Having Dame, Middleton, and Giannis all healthy in a series like that.
Especially with Giannis's mid-range and his footwork in the post, people do not appreciate enough, in my opinion. They don't appreciate it enough. He has that spin move. He has the little jump hook. Now he has the mid-range. The Bucks in half court are becoming and that was a problem for them when they had Holiday. Very tough to guard right now.
Yes, I am supremely confident in their ability to score in those situations.
Agreed. Go ahead with your point.
So, going with Khris Middleton, I'm going to agree with you on his shooting. He started off 2 for 4, was over 6 in the second half. Conditioning is real. We just talked about it for the entire Hawks segment.
Yep.
He's still a good playmaker. His shooting is going to come. I have absolutely zero doubt. His entire body of work speaks to that.
Mm-hmm.
Bobby Portis, William, if you had asked me after the Celtics game if I think the Bucks should trade Bobby Portis, I would just say yes. It was a really, really rough game for Bobby Portis. He was consistently blown by on defense. His shot selection was still questionable. He was forcing shots. I will say he's definitely our second best rebounder, but we need Bobby Portis scoring efficiently. Because if he's not, he's unplayable.
That's fair.
Being a good rebounder is not enough of a redeeming quality to be bad on defense and inefficient on offense.
That's fair.
Rebounding is not enough reason to have him in the game at that point.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to change my tune very, very soon in a very big way. So we'll come back to that. But the 3-point shooting, 11 for 29, that's just shy of 38%. It's a decent percentage. Honestly, when you're playing the Celtics, probably should take 5 to 8 more threes because they're going to shoot damn near 50 threes.
Yeah, that's very true.
So that to me is just kind of a matchup dependent thing. When you're playing the Celtics, you got to shoot more threes. You got to give your chance to increase your scoring output just that little bit. Dame was 4 for 12. He had one late that should have been a foul in my opinion, but the last 5 minutes of the game, the refs just stopped calling fouls on the Celtics. So that is what it is. Bobby was 0 for 4. Brook Lopez was only 1 for 2. I'd like to see Brook Lopez shooting like 4 threes a game, not 2.
I agree.
turnovers, Bucks only had 9. That's very good. Only allowed 9 points off turnovers. That's also very good. Just looking at the first half, Damian Lillard was absolutely carrying the Bucks from the 3-point line and driving. Him getting an and one before the end of the first half gave him 20 points for the game at that point.
Mm-hmm.
The closing minutes, like I said, the refs kind of stopped calling fouls. Welcome back, Justin. How do you feel about Giannis shooting a 3 at the end of the game?
Contextually, I hated that shot. If it's in rhythm, it's a totally different conversation, but this one felt forced.
I'm with that. Giannis talked about it after the game. He said he's confident in it, and he's going to shoot him once in a while, which is fine.
Yeah.
Looking at the play and looking how, in my opinion, soft the coverage was. You take one step in, you make that a mid-range, that shot goes from 30% to 50%.
And it's
if you were down 2,
point.
And that's the thing. If you're down 2 points, I'm more okay with it, as dumb as it sounds. You're down 1 point. A 2-pointer gives you the lead.
Yeah.
That's why I feel a little bit more strongly about taking a step in.
I agree.
That's just how I felt about the end of the game.
Now, that's the thing with the effective field goal percentage is it kind of weighs 3-point shots, right? Mm-hmm. But in the effectiveness of being down 1, going up that 20%, that's a more effective shot when you look at it analytically like that. So yeah. when you take it from that angle, I can't disagree with you, man, honestly.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that Giannis is dumb for shooting the shot or that I have no faith in him to make shots. Like, he's made big shots. He's made big 3-point shots. It's just in that specific situation, in that specific game, I would have liked to see him take one more step in and make it a mid-range.
Yeah, I'm not against that.
Okay. Let's go to Sunday's game against the Nets. What stood out to you on Sunday?
If I don't start this conversation with how you phrase that question and I don't start by saying Bobby fucking Portis, holy shit, dude. He went nuclear, dude. Freaking 9 of 10 from the field, 5 of 5 from behind the arc. He was insane. So, want to point a couple things out here. This was the 14th 30-point game for Giannis this year. That leads the NBA. What were we at this point? We turned 11 and 11, right? We turned 12 and 11.
12 and 11. Yeah, you're right.
12 and 11. So we were what, 23 games into the season, and 14 of those games he had fucking 30 points. Oh my god. That's not right, dude. That's not normal. And then I wanted to add this in there because I was thinking about this, man, and I was seeing a bunch of posts, seeing a bunch of videos on NBA viewership being down, everybody talking about how people take 100 threes, and I was so excited when you said the Celtics are going to shoot 50 threes, and I was like, that is true. Everybody shoots lots of threes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why don't people appreciate Giannis more?
He's running dunk man.
He's got an old school game. He's got an old school game. He's got a mid-range now. He's got a post game. He scores from the pick and roll. He goes to the rim. He plays tough.
He's literally as paint efficient as Prime Shaq.
Dude, yeah. That's insane to think about, honestly.
And he's got like the transition game, maybe not quite as dunk heavy as LeBron James.
He still finishes like LeBron though.
He does more layups than dunks.
If you had to rank players, like the scariest players in the fast break, Giannis, LeBron, Russell Westbrook. I mean, the one healthy year of Derrick Rose is probably on there. I mean, you're talking Vince Carter. That's probably your top 5 in the fast break. Michael Jordan, maybe.
Jordan.
If you take out Derrick Rose and you put Jordan in there, I mean, that's probably your top 5. But Giannis in the fast break is definitely one of the top 5 scariest players in NBA history.
Easily. It's LeBron and Giannis are probably 1 and 2.
Yeah, 100%. Young LeBron was insane. Prime Giannis is insane.
Young Dwayne Wade, definitely.
Young Wade was fucking filth. Yeah, man, that'd be a tough list to make, dude.
That'd be a fun one. Fuck it. I need to post it. No, I'll write it down.
Yeah, dude, we need to make that, dude. That could be a nice little TikTok post there. So things that stuck out to me. This was the first win for the Bucks. They've had 3 games this year where they allowed over 50% from the field. They had a streak of 15 straight games holding teams under 50% from the field that was broken by Brooklyn. First win in that scenario. They were 0 for 2 in that. So I wanted to point that out. Nice job by the Bucks. They shot efficiently themselves. Shot 57% from the field, 48% from around the arc. Sorry for stealing.
Speaking of going nuclear, Dennis Schroeder, chill out, bro.
Yeah, dude. What he has gone crazy against us in 2 games this year. He sees the Bucks and he's just like, I am Allen Iverson.
Yeah, right. No shit.
I'm like,
left-handed. He's the left-handed answer.
Yeah, right. What the hell? Give credit to the Bucks bench. 60 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists, 20 of 30 from the field, 11 of 17 from 3. That's not right, dude. That's crazy. And I've been writing down the effective field goal percentages for the last couple weeks here. And this is the craziest thing. AJ Green had 150% effective field goal percentage. Bobby Portis in 10 shots had 115% effective field goal percentage.
Damn. He hit some clutch ones. That's probably part of it.
That might be the best offensive performance, effective field goal percentage-wise, in Bobby Portis' career. Honest to God.
It probably is. He, just in like the last 5 minutes of the game, Bobby came alive. He got a steal. He hit 2 threes. He forced a turnover. He hit a 3 again. That gave the Bucks the lead. He blocked a Dennis Schroeder shot that led to Giannis getting a dunk.
Yeah.
Like that, he did a really good job. And you talk about Khris Middleton coming back. He hit 2 really clutch threes in this game as well.
Yes.
Dame and Khris combined were 5 of 15. This was like the most, or like the fewest field goals that Dame has had since like 2021. It only took 7 shots. But Dame and Khris combined were 5 of 15, which is obviously not ideal. It's obviously not the norm. No. And it's not a number that's going to be consistent over the long term. Yeah. However, the 2 of them combined were 13 of 15 from the free throw line and had 17 assists to 7 turnovers, which were all by Damian Lillard.
Yeah.
They stay locked in offensively when they're not shooting well.
Mm-hmm.
That is something that is very good. They are both playmakers, and you said this in the Celtics game. Khris Middleton was working his ass off on defense.
Yeah, he was.
Especially against Cam Johnson. And having a 6'8" forward that can score, play defense, and pass like Khris Middleton does is a big boost to the Bucks.
Oh, yeah.
When we get into January, February, March, we will be seeing graphics of the Bucks record since Khris Middleton returned. That will absolutely be a thing. It'll be before Khris Middleton and after Khris Middleton. So keep an eye on that. The other thing, looking at the team as a whole, their team defense is still a work in progress, but I will say it is progressing 100% in the right direction.
Oh yeah, it is.
I grow very tired of the blanket fire Doc comments every time the Bucks lose a game or something doesn't go ideal, because in my mind it's just a cop-out thing of people having to actually learn basketball. I'm not saying that Doc Rivers should be coach of the year or anything like that, but if you look at the first 10 games of the Bucks season when they were 2-8, and you look at the season from that point to now, there's a night and day difference to the way this team is playing defense. Night and day.
Mm-hmm.
3-point shooting, the Bucks as a team were 15 of 31. That's 48.4%. Love that. I can't overstate how much we need the efficient Bobby Portis. For him to be 5 for 5 on threes was huge. Gary Trent Jr. was 3 for 7. Ajax was 2 for 3. AJ Green bounced back. He was 2 for 2. I mean, 16 turnovers is a little high. 15 points off turnovers for the Nets isn't crazy. Just again, like I mentioned earlier with the Badgers, like just the opportunity cost when you have 16 turnovers, that's 16 possessions where you don't get shots.
Yeah.
So nothing crazy, but we can go into the Bucks and Magic game. The Bucks won this game. Brett asked the question earlier, who do you want for the semifinals, the Knicks or the Hawks? if we're looking at it from a basketball perspective, like I'd rather have the Knicks. I think that would be a better basketball game. I'm not super like bent on revenge of beating the Hawks. It's not like they knocked us out of the playoffs in a controversial game 7 or anything like that. They beat us in a regular season game on the second night of a back-to-back. Like I'm not super bent on a revenge game. Same with the Knicks. Like they beat us when our systems were still new and kind of in shambles a little bit. So like, I'm not like, we need a revenge game. We need a get right game. I would just like to have a better team for the Bucks to be able to beat, to kind of dispel the Bucks can't beat good teams, because the Magic are without Franz Wagner and Paolo Banchero. They're without 2 good players. They're 2 best players. But you want to take a stab at where the Magic are in opponent points per game?
They're first.
Number 1. Literally number 1
in
opponent points per game. They allow 103.2 points per game.
That's crazy defense.
Without Paolo and Franz.
Paolo's not a very good defender, but he's a really good offensive player.
The Magic are still a good defensive team even without those 2.
Yep, 100%.
Bottom line. And as for this not beating good teams thing, the Magic are still above the Bucks in the standings.
Yep.
So I don't want to hear that shit just because they didn't have their 2 best players. I understand that, but that doesn't make the Magic a bad team. So what were your thoughts from last night?
Also want to point out, when we lost to the Knicks, that was also a second half of a back-to-back. So
Valid.
Both losses that we lost to the Hawks and Knicks were second half of the back-to-back. I want to face New York just because I hate the city of New York, and I'd like to shove it in their fans' faces.
Fair.
I don't care about Atlanta. Atlanta's a shit sports city.
We did actually beat them in the playoffs. So
yeah, we did. So first thing I want to point out, kind of weird, Taurean Prince, kind of getting lost in the shuffle. Keep seeing stuff, graphics about him being the leading three-point shooter in the NBA. Well, he's had, 4 total shots in the last 3 games, and he's been scoreless in all 3 of them. So I'd like them to get him a little bit more involved. Giannis with 37 points. So if you're doing some simple math, that is his 15th 30-point game and his 8th 35-point game. His 8th 35-point game.
Oh, that my God.
Is insane.
That's wild.
8th 35-point game. He absolutely carried the offense for the first 3 quarters. 32 of his 37 points came in the first 3 quarters. Me and you were doing the Packer episode. We were kind of talking on the side while we were also talking about Packers. So we definitely proved my girlfriend wrong that I can multitask. I could talk about the Bucks and the Packers at the same time.
Yeah. I don't know how far I tried to carry that bucket of water, but do your thing.
I said to you, I was like, Dame's got to take over in the 4th. It's time for Dame to have like a 17-point quarter. He had 15 of his 28 in the 4th quarter. We got some big Dame time moments.
Last minute.
Yeah, dude. He hit a big time 3 with like 40 seconds left.
Bro, that was nasty.
Threw down a lay dunk. I don't know whatever one you want to call it, to give the Bucks the lead. Bobby Portis, etched some NBA history, has the 4th, I believe it was the 4th most double-doubles off the bench in NBA history. Had 22 and 10 last night. The bench shot 14 of 26, so they're over 50% there. 7 of 16 from three-point range, so almost 50% there. That's some crazy efficiency. And yes, Brett, I was getting to that. Damian Lillard, even when he wasn't scoring, he had some nice playmaking on display.
Yeah.
He threw a pocket pass off a pick and roll, and I was like, oof, that was filthy. That was just straight filthy.
Oh, the flashes are there. Oh.
And want to talk about efficiency real quick, and then I'm going to give some credit to one more person. So in terms of driving, Bucks scored 22 points. 18 of those came from Dame and Giannis. Dame led the way with 10. Catch and shoot, we had 31. Bobby Portis has just been a man on a mission, carrying the catch and shoot the last couple of games. And if you haven't noticed, it's kind of went in waves. It was AJ Green for a little bit, then it was Gary Trent. Now it's been Bobby. As long as we have somebody doing it, and Taurean Prince is going to be that guy now. It's going to be okay. Pull-up game, we scored 14 on the pull-up game. Bobby had 6, and he shot 75% on pull-ups. So, I mean, if he's doing that, that's Bobby Portis' game.
Yeah.
25 points on paint touches, 20 from Giannis. Got to give credit to somebody. Got to give credit to the Milk Mamba. The mental toughness it took him to have all those shots. And I texted you. I was like, man, when he had that turnaround jumper, so he rushed a three-pointer, then he had a turnaround J from the block where Jalen Suggs actually like jammed his thumb and came back into the game. And apparently that was the magic touch he needed to fucking score 30 points. I don't know if
he was playing well before that, but yes.
He was, but he started going nuclear after that. He thought he was back at Gonzaga or something. AJ Green had the best plus minus on the Bucks last night.
He started 1 for 6 from 3 and made his last 2 in clutch time.
He was plus 13 in the plus minus area. That means that he continued to play good defense. He's getting a little better on team defense. He's getting a little better at the rotations.
Yep.
But he's still an excellent individual defender. And the mental toughness that he showed and to be clutch, to your credit, we have a lot of players that like to play clutch. Brook Lopez has had some clutch play moments. Obviously, Giannis. It's not called Dame time for no goddamn reason. Khris Middleton can be clutch. AJ Green has shown a clutch gene. We got a team over here. Bobby Portis has had some big time shots in his career. I mean, dude, this Bucks team is a lot closer to the Celtics than people want to give it credit for, in my opinion. So I think they're going to lock in here, although I hate their March portion of their schedule, but that's a discussion to be had later.
Yeah. Brett brought up a good point on Taurean Prince that the illness could potentially be still bothering him. That's very fair.
Yeah.
And Brett, they're never going to give up on AJ Green. They know he can shoot. And one thing I'll give credit to, this is something you'll hear Matt LaFleur say about Jordan Love a lot, is having a short memory.
Yep.
Just forgetting shots you missed. That's a Kobe Bryant thing, having a short memory, like doesn't care about the last shot that he missed, does not care. And here's the thing is this is something you can apply to yourself. Missing or making your last shot does not have bearing on the next one.
100%.
If you make your last one and your confidence is a little bit better, you're shooting with more confidence. That doesn't mean that your last shot going in is going to make the percentage of your next one going in higher. Mm-hmm. Nor does missing your last one mean that you're more likely to miss the next one.
Yeah.
So having a short memory, like I said, being 1 for 6 to start and then making his last 2, having that short memory is great. The Bucks were 11 for 30 as a team, 36.7%. That's pretty average. Gary Trent Jr. was 2 for 4. Bobby was 2 for 3. Pretty average 3-point shooting. Turnovers, 16 again, a little high, 7 of them in the first quarter, 9 for the rest of the game. So they cleaned it up after the first quarter. Did turn into 20 points off turnovers. However, I will give the caveat that with more ball movement, more passes, that will increase the chances of turnovers. The Bucks had 27 assists on 42 made field goals. Love to see that. Their average is 24 assists on 41 field goals. So that. You ever heard of the show Everybody Hates Chris?
Yeah.
My segment in my notes says nobody should hate Chris. I saw people being, kind of like, ooh, Khris Middleton, no points? Whoa, what's that all about? No points for Khris Middleton? He took 2 shots.
Yep.
He had 8 assists.
He was sharing the ball.
Coming in with the second unit, pushing the pace, facilitating. He had like 4 assists to just Giannis himself. There was 2 possessions late in the game. He got 2 steals and 2 assists to Giannis. He finished with 8 assists in 19 minutes. That's crazy. You're talking if he plays like a 35-minute game, you're talking about him having like 14 assists.
Yeah. Imagine when that three-pointer starts to fall, dude.
Dude, Chris might fuck around and have a triple-double this season at some point.
No, he might.
He'll have like a 15, 10, and 10 game at some point. Michael Carter-Williams style. Just throw that blast from the past name out there. But 8 assists, 4 rebounds, and 3 steals, only 2 turnovers in 19 minutes is crazy work. I don't give a shit about points. His shot's going to come. I'm not at all worried about it.
Not me either.
One thing I'll say with the Bucks, have to finish possessions with rebounds. 15 offensive boards is too many for the Magic. 14-second chance points is okay, but 15 offensive rebounds is high. What I will say, to give the counter perspective to my own point there, the Bucks played a lot of zone, which is going to create a lot of chaos on the rebounds. It's going to create a lot of long rebounds when your opponent is shooting more threes. Long shots create long rebounds. And when you're in zone, you're not person-to-person matched up. So that makes it easier for offensive rebounds. The other thing that I will say when it comes to rebounding, the Bucks defensively, this is something that in general Bucks fans have wanted, and it's just kind of the way the NBA is going, is a lot of switching on defense. That is going to create some more rebound opportunities as well when you have AJ Green guarding Goga Batadze.
Yeah.
Some of those things are going to happen occasionally. That is going to make more opportunity for offensive rebounds. So just those two things, it makes you susceptible to the offensive rebounds a little bit. But the thing we have to end on here is the Dame time. The last 2 minutes of the game, he had 2 free throws, hit a step-back 3 to tie the game, a dunk to take the lead, 2 more free throws. He finished the game with 28 points and 9 assists. And we could probably look at Damian Lillard's stat lines. Like, Giannis is arguably the best player in the NBA, but Damian Lillard is playing at an all-star level. Yes, Brett, the hate on Khris should stay quiet. Still people wanting to trade him. You're not going to get anything in return that's going to give you what Khris Middleton is going to give you when he's healthy. Trading value down just for a player who's going to play 70 games instead of 55, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
And if you want further evidence of Chris's impact, go look at his stats from the Pacers series last year. Playing on 1 knee and 0 ankles.
Yeah.
Dropping 40.
Bro, he was going fucking insane. The fucking post days.
He's like, let's just see how many points I can score. Let's just see. See if I can win the game by myself.
His freaking shimmy shot was like Kobe in that game. I'm serious.
People are making that comparison a little bit.
I can see it from that game. The mid-post game was crazy.
And it's not to say, like, over everything like he is Kobe, but when you're talking about, like, play style, I absolutely see it.
I can see the play style a bit correlated.
Brett made a good point. You can't trade chemistry either. It's been 3 games, and Giannis and Khris are already sharing one brain again. Back to sharing one brain.
Yep.
Last thing I'm going to say, 17 of the 27 assists came from Dame and Khris, and if you add Bobby Portis, that's 21 of the Bucks' 27 assists.
Yeah, Giannis was in scoring mode yesterday. He wasn't
It's not a dig at Giannis. It's more so credit to those 3 guys being distributors. I was pretty pleased with last night's game.
Yeah, I was too. That kind of leads to a discussion I wanted to have about matchups, man. And Giannis had a matchup where he thought he could score, and he was doing that. So people got to really start looking at basketball, and you talk about it in baseball with zooming out, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes when you're looking at a basketball game, you got to zoom out and look at the matchups that you're faced with. Giannis had some barbecue chicken yesterday. He could have had all the barbecue chicken he wanted.
We talked about it in the Wizards game for sure.
Yeah. So it's just some matchups are better than other matchups, and you make some shots, you miss some shots, but the Bucks, they did their thing, man. Defense was good, offense was good. Magic didn't go away. They played tough. They played good defense, but Bucks did their thing. I'm happy with that game. I'm happy they're going to Vegas. They sound like they really want to go get this cup. So go get the goddamn cup, man.
Yeah, they're moving on. They play Saturday in Vegas, and then they will play Tuesday. So we will have 2 Bucks games and 1 Badger game. So probably a short show next week to wrap up next Wednesday before we get to the Christmas week, which following week we're going to go to Thursday instead of Wednesday. We're not going to have a show on Christmas Day. We're going to push that back by a day. But other than that, that's where we're at. The third quarter of the Magic game, 20-13. That's a gritty basketball quarter.
Yeah.
That's a 90s fight.
Holy crap. We haven't heard one of those in a long time, Tyler. Holy hell, dude.
Anything else you want to say with the Bucks moving on before we bid adieu?
I got one thing to say to the fans. Not every loss is the end of the season, especially December 11th. Just wanted to let you know that we have a lot of basketball games to play before it's the end of the season.
Yeah, that goes for the Bucks and the Badgers.
Yeah, good point.
All righty. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Brett, we appreciate the comments. William asked some good questions on the YouTube side. Connor, good to see you as well. Justin, thanks for tuning in. Everybody else, thanks for tuning in. Always be sure to drop comments, questions if you have them. That's why we do the shows live. Other than that, we will be back next Tuesday for our Packers show again, and we will see you guys then. William, go Bucks, go Badgers. We appreciate the love. We appreciate it a lot. This is something that we can hopefully continue to scale and do more of in the future. So we're really hoping to continue to grow and get to a point where we can do this every single day would be the ideal. So we appreciate it and take care. We will see you guys on Tuesday.